Picture this. It's a gorgeous California evening. The sun is just starting to dip below the horizon, painting the sky these incredible shades of orange and purple.
Oh yeah, the absolute perfect time of day.
Right. You're sitting on your patio, maybe holding a cold drink, finally unwinding after a long day. It is just the absolute picture of relaxation. And then you hear it.
Ugh, the worst sound in the world.
It really is, that high-pitched, incredibly irritating whine right next to your ear. The telltale sound of a mosquito. In a split second, your peaceful sanctuary turns into a combat zone, and you're just fleeing back indoors.
Yeah, it's a deeply universal, deeply frustrating experience. I mean, that single sound instantly triggers our fight-or-flight response. And honestly, because we know exactly what comes next, the itching, the swelling, it's almost always flight.
Exactly. We retreat. Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking an actual field manual, a preventative guide put together by the pros at Simple Pest Management titled Mosquito Breeding Prevention in California.
It's a really fantastic, thorough guide.
It is. And we are going to figure out exactly how these tiny vampires are outsmarting us. We're going to uncover the hidden water traps you are likely setting up for them in your own yard right now. And most importantly, learn how to reclaim our backyards.
Because as we'll see, it's not just about avoiding an itchy ankle for a few days. The stakes in California are much, much higher.
Yeah, we're going to get into some serious stuff today. The solutions require a bit of, strategic biological thinking rather than just swatting blindly.
Absolutely.
But before we jump into the tactical warfare, just a quick housekeeping note. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive where we break down the things impacting your everyday life, make sure to follow and like the show. It really helps us out.
Please do.
All right, so to defeat the enemy, we first have to understand them. And before we get into their habitats, I just have to ask, how do they even find us so fast? You step outside for 2 minutes and they are locked onto you.
Well, it's a highly sophisticated tracking system. I mean, mosquitoes are essentially flying carbon dioxide detectors.
Wait, really? Like a smoke detector, but for breath?
Exactly. When you're relaxing on that patio, you are exhaling plumes of CO2, and they can detect those plumes from over 30 feet away.
Wow. Over 30 feet.
Yeah. They follow that invisible breadcrumb trail of your breath, and as they get closer, they switch to tracking your body heat and the specific lactic acid in your sweat.
So you're basically radiating a neon dinner is served sign just by breathing and existing.
Precisely. And the female mosquito, because, it is only the females that bite, she needs the protein from your blood to develop her eggs.
Right.
Which leads us to the real root of the problem, where she puts those eggs when she actually gets her meal.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the most shocking fact in this entire manual was about the sheer volume of water they actually require to reproduce.
Oh, this always surprises people.
It blew my mind. A female mosquito needs only a bottle cap full of water to lay her eggs. A bottle cap. I was picturing puddles, ponds, massive swamps.
Right, the classic cartoon swamp.
Yeah. But we are talking about a microscopic luxury maternity ward that can literally fit in the palm of your hand.
And that tiny volume of water is really all it takes to trigger a remarkably fast biological process. Especially in California's warm climate, it's all about speed and temperature.
So the heat just ramps everything up.
Exactly. The female lays her eggs on the surface of that stagnant water. And because temperatures in places like San Diego or Sacramento stay relatively warm for, long stretches of the year, the metabolic rate of these insects is completely supercharged.
So how fast are we talking?
Within just a matter of days, those eggs hatch into larvae.
The manual calls them wigglers. Which, sounds cute until you remember what they grow up to be. They just kind of hang upside down right at the surface of the water, right?
Yeah, exactly. They have these tiny breathing tubes called siphons, and those tubes break the surface tension of the water so they can breathe oxygen, while their mouths are down there filter feeding in the water below.
Gross.
It is a little gross. And within a week or two, they transform from those larvae into pupae to fully formed adult mosquitoes, just flying right out of that bottle cap, ready to find their own blood meal.
And I need us to pause and just let the math of this sink in for a second, because it is honestly terrifying. We aren't talking about a mosquito having 1 or 2 babies.
Not at all. A single female can lay 100 to 300 eggs at a single time.
300 eggs from one mosquito.
Yep. And she will lay multiple batches over her lifespan. If half of those eggs are female, and then they lay 300 eggs a couple of weeks later.
Oh man, you see where this goes. The exponential growth is staggering.
It's unbelievable.
So one single neglected bottle cap's worth of water doesn't just produce a few pests. If left unchecked, it can be the origin point for tens of thousands of mosquitoes over the course of a single summer.
Exactly, which means the primary front in this war isn't the mosquito flying around your ear, it's the standing water hiding around your house.
Which begs the question, if they only need a bottle cap, where are all these microscopic maternity wards hiding? Let's take a tour of the yard.
Let's do it.
The obvious suspects are things like bird baths, pet water bowls left outside, and saucers sitting underneath your potted plants. But let me push back on this on behalf of the listener.
Okay, go for it.
If you were telling me I need to get rid of my bird bath or drain my swimming pool to keep my family safe, that feels a bit extreme. I mean, I want a nice backyard.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the presence of water isn't the actual problem, it's the condition of the water.
Okay, condition. What do you mean?
Let's take your swimming pool, for example. If you have an active pool that is properly chlorinated and the pump is running, circulating the water, you are perfectly fine.
So the moving water keeps them away.
Right. Mosquitoes cannot and will not lay eggs in a well-maintained churning pool. The issue is neglected water.
Ah, so we were talking about abandoned properties. Or maybe the pool you just stopped maintaining when the weather got a little chilly and the pump broke.
Exactly. During the hot summers in places like Sacramento and Riverside, abandoned or foreclosed properties with these neglected, green, algae-filled pools become massive neighborhood menaces.
I've seen those. They look like giant bowls of pea soup.
Yeah, and they essentially turn into mega factories for mosquitoes.
Mm.
As for your bird bath or your dog's outdoor bowl, you don't have to throw them away. You just have to empty them, scrub them lightly, and refill them at least twice a week.
Just twice a week.
Yep. By doing that, you are physically interrupting that 1 to 2 week life cycle we talked about. You dump the wigglers out before they can mature into adults.
Break the cycle. That makes complete sense.
Mm.
But the manual also dives into the sneaky spots. Because if you are walking your property right now, you might think you are safe because your bird bath is clean. But there are hidden traps that I wouldn't have even thought to look for.
Oh, absolutely. The hidden traps are often the most productive breeding grounds precisely because they are out of our line of sight. Clogged gutters are a huge offender.
Right, because if there's a pile of leaves blocking the downspout, the water just sits up there at roof level.
Exactly.
You can't see it from the ground, but you've essentially built a moat for your roof.
And it persists for weeks. Another major trap that people often overlook, old tires.
Why tires? Just because they're junk laying around.
It's actually the specific geometry and material of a tire. Think about it. A tire is a perfect Doris. It's curved, so it collects and holds rainwater deep in the interior.
Right, it pools inside the rim.
Exactly. And the opening is relatively narrow, which blocks the wind and severely limits evaporation from the sun. But crucially, the interior is made of dark black rubber.
Oh, and black absorbs heat.
Right. That rubber absorbs thermal energy from the sun during the day and then radiates that heat into the water all night long.
Wow. So it's not just holding water. It is a literal temperature-controlled incubator.
Yes.
That is incredibly sneaky. The manual also mentions the folds of heavy plastic tarps, like the ones you throw over a boat or a cord of firewood. The water just pools in those little valleys and creates these micropuddles.
It does. But beyond the things we leave out, we also have to look at structural issues built right into our homes and landscaping. There are architectural flaws that inadvertently invite mosquitoes.
Yeah, this blew my mind. Hollow fence posts.
Oh, I know.
If you install a metal or PVC fence and you forget to put the decorative caps on top of the posts, those hollow tubes fill up with rainwater. You've just built a subterranean high-rise apartment for mosquitoes inside your fence.
It's wild. Or consider your air conditioning system. AC units pull humidity out of the warm air, and that moisture drains out through a condensate drip line.
Okay.
If that little PVC pipe just drips continuously into a puddle next to your foundation all summer long, you've created a permanent year-round water source right next to your back door.
I never even thought of that.
We also see this with French drains and catch basins, which are especially problematic in coastal communities like San Diego. They are designed to hold standing water underground to prevent flooding completely out of sight.
And there's a myth I want to bring up here because I definitely believed it until I read this manual. I always thought mosquitoes only bred in gross, dirty, swampy water. If the water in my plant saucer was relatively clear, I thought I was safe.
Yeah, that is a very dangerous myth.
Mm-hmm.
Mosquitoes can absolutely breed in clear water. But here is the terrifying caveat, and it goes back to the biology of those wigglers. They actually prefer a bit of debris.
Really? Why?
Well, they don't need the water to be toxic sludge, but remember, those larvae need to eat to grow.
Right, their little mouths are filter feeding. But what are they eating?
They feed on microorganisms, bacteria, and algae that break down organic matter. So if you have a bird bath that is filled with fallen leaves or, say, grass clippings that blew into a drainage ditch,
Oh, I see.
as that plant matter decays in the water, bacteria flock to it. That creates a nutrient-rich bacterial soup. That organic buffet is the absolute ideal environment for an exploding mosquito population. They will grow faster and stronger.
A nutrient-rich wiggler buffet. That is thoroughly disgusting.
Very.
But this brings us to a really crucial pivot, because this entire manual isn't just about avoiding a swollen, itchy ankle. The stakes in California are much, much higher than a mild annoyance at a backyard barbecue.
They are. We are talking about severe public health threats. Mosquitoes are vectors. Biologically, they're flying delivery systems for some very serious pathogens.
Yeah, and the big native threat we hear about constantly is West Nile virus. But how exactly does it get to us?
West Nile virus has been the most significant mosquito-borne threat in California since it was first detected there in 2003. And the transmission cycle is fascinating, though grim. The virus actually primarily exists in bird populations, specifically crows, jays, and ravens.
So it starts with the birds.
Right. A mosquito bites an infected bird, and the virus enters the mosquito's gut. From there, the virus replicates, escapes the gut, and travels to the mosquito's salivary glands.
So when it bites its next victim, it injects the virus along with its saliva.
Exactly. And when that next victim is a human or a horse, we get infected. But humans and horses are what epidemiologists call dead-end or incidental hosts.
Dead-end host. What does that mean?
It means we don't produce enough of the virus in our blood to infect the next mosquito that bites us.
Meaning the virus wasn't necessarily aiming for us, we just got caught in the crossfire of this bird-to-mosquito cycle.
Precisely. Now, for most people, a West Nile infection results in no symptoms or just a mild flu-like illness. But for a small percentage, particularly older adults or those with compromised immune systems, the virus manages to cross the blood-brain barrier. Yeah. It enters the central nervous system and can cause severe neurological diseases like meningitis and encephalitis, which is literal inflammation of the brain. The skull is a closed box, so when the brain swells, it causes severe neurological damage. It can be fatal.
That is terrifying.
Sacramento, Riverside, and San Diego counties have all been significant hotspots for West Nile recently.
The manual also briefly mentions St. Louis encephalitis and Western equine encephalitis. And for that last one, they make a specific point that if you live in agricultural areas like Placer County, you need to be vaccinating your horses, because horses are highly susceptible to that brain inflammation.
Yes. It's a vital preventative step for livestock owners. The viral load can devastate a stable, but, as serious as those established native diseases are, the landscape is shifting.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and by interesting, I mean totally panic-inducing.
Yeah.
The manual introduces us to the invasive newcomers, the Aedes mosquitoes, specifically the Asian tiger mosquito and the yellow fever mosquito. Now, if West Nile is primarily an evening threat involving birds, are we talking about a totally different class of pathogens and behaviors here?
We are. These are a fundamentally different beast compared to the native Culex mosquitoes Californians are used to. They are hyper-aggressive, they are stealthy ankle biters, and their behavior completely upends our traditional defenses.
Because they are day biters. I read this and I was genuinely dismayed. My entire life, the strategy has been, okay, the sun is going down, time to go inside or spray the bug spray. Dusk was the danger zone. Are you telling me that strategy is completely useless now?
I completely validate your concern here. It forces a total paradigm shift in how we interact with our outdoor spaces. You cannot just wait out the evening anymore. These invasive Aedes species hunt in broad daylight.
That is so frustrating.
And they evolved to live in dense human environments, breeding in our artificial containers like those bottle caps and tires we talked about.
And what are these day biters capable of carrying? Because day biting sounds distinctly tropical. Are we talking about jungle diseases showing up in suburban Sacramento?
Well, this raises an important question, and this is where we need to look at the broader epidemiological context. These specific Aedes mosquitoes are the known vectors for tropical diseases like dengue fever, chikungunya, and the Zika virus.
Wait, let's be very clear here. Are people currently catching Zika and dengue from their own backyards in California?
Not currently. The manual is very careful to clarify that local transmission of these specific diseases hasn't happened yet in California.
Okay, phew.
Yeah. If someone in the state is diagnosed with dengue today, they almost certainly caught it while traveling internationally. However, and this is a massive flashing red light of a however, the vehicles for those diseases are already here.
The mosquitoes themselves.
Yes. The Aedes mosquitoes are establishing themselves aggressively in San Diego, Riverside, and Sacramento.
So the infrastructure is laid. If someone travels to a dengue hotspot, gets infected, comes home to California, and gets bitten by a local day-biting Aedes mosquito in their yard.
Exactly. That local mosquito ingests the infected blood, the virus incubates in its salivary glands, and a week later, it bites the neighbor next door. Suddenly, you have local transmission. The gun is loaded. We are just waiting for the trigger.
Okay, so with day-biting mosquitoes threatening to act as a bridge for tropical diseases into our neighborhoods, how do we actively fight back? Because just barricading ourselves indoors 24 hours a day isn't an option. We need tactical prevention.
The absolute first step, the foundation of all mosquito control, is source reduction, which simply means dump the water. Walk your property weekly, find the standing water, and eliminate it.
But what if you can't dump it? Like, what if you have a beautiful ornamental koi pond or a large rain barrel that you rely on to water your garden? I can't just flip my pond upside down every 3 days.
No, of course not. That's where we get into biological and chemical controls. And the manual outlines some incredibly cool tactical solutions here that focus on the biology of the insect. If you have an ornamental pond, you can use mosquito fish.
Mosquito fish. I love this concept. It sounds like deploying a squad of tiny aquatic mercenaries.
That's exactly what they are. Gambusia affinis. They are voracious predators of mosquito larvae. A single fish can eat hundreds of wigglers a day.
That is amazing.
They dart around the surface of the water, hunting them down. And the best part is that many California vector-controlled districts give them out for free. You drop them in your pond, and they provide natural 24/7 biological patrol.
But what about a rain barrel or a catch basin where a fish wouldn't survive?
For those, the manual recommends Beta Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis.
Bless you.
Thank you. Bidet is a naturally occurring soil bacterium. You can buy it at the hardware store in these little slow-release rings called dunks or as granular bits. You drop it in the water, and it's brilliant. The bacterium produces a microscopic protein crystal.
Okay, so how does a crystal kill a mosquito?
It exploits the unique biology of the larvae. Mosquito wigglers have highly alkaline stomachs. When they filter feed and swallow the BT, that alkaline environment dissolves the crystal.
And then
The dissolved protein then binds to the gut wall of the larva and literally tears it open, creating pores. The larva stops eating and dies within hours.
so it destroys them from the inside out.
Yeah.
But is it safe? Like if I put a dunk in my rain barrel and then water my tomatoes or my dog drinks from a treated puddle?
Completely safe, because the protein only becomes toxic in that specific, highly alkaline stomach environment found in mosquito, black fly, and fungus gnat larvae. Mammals, birds, and fish have acidic stomachs. If your dog drinks it, it just digests harmlessly.
That is wild.
It is an incredibly elegant biological weapon. The manual also highlights methoprene, which works on a totally different biological mechanism. It's an insect growth regulator.
Meaning it regulates how they grow.
It actually mimics the mosquito's juvenile hormone. So a larva lives in the water, eats, and gets ready to pupate into an adult. But if methoprene is in the water, the larva's body receives a false chemical signal that says, "You are still a baby."
Wait, really?
Yeah, it traps them in an adolescent stage forever. They can never mature, they can never fly, and eventually they just die in the water. It literally halts their puberty.
A Peter Pan syndrome for mosquitoes.
Uh-huh.
That is incredible science. Okay, so we got biological warfare for the waters. What about personal defense for the yard? You walk into any garden center and there's an entire aisle of citronella plants and marigolds. Can I just plant a lush border of those around my patio and create a natural force field?
I have to gently shut that down. I know the garden centers market them heavily, but relying on plants alone is a recipe for getting bitten.
Really? They don't work.
Not like people think. The scent of a citronella plant sitting in a pot is not concentrated enough to mask the massive plume of CO2 you are breathing out. While crushing the leaves and rubbing the oils on your skin has some mild, temporary effect, the plant itself does not project a reliable force field.
Reality check accepted. So what actually works?
You need EPA-registered repellents. Look for active ingredients like DEET, picaridin, or oil of lemon eucalyptus, and apply them directly to your skin and clothes. They physically block the mosquito's scent receptors, but beyond sprays, yard management is key. You need to trim back your dense vegetation.
Why? Do they eat the plants?
No, adult mosquitoes are prone to dehydration. They cannot survive the baking heat of the midday California sun. So during the day, they seek out cool, shady, overgrown bushes and ivy to rest in. It acts as a humid microclimate for them.
Ah, okay.
If you thin out the brush and let the sun and wind in, you destroy their daytime hideouts.
And speaking of wind, the manual mentioned using outdoor fans.
Yes. This is one of my favorite, brilliantly simple defenses. Mosquitoes, for all the misery they cause and the diseases they carry, are incredibly weak flyers.
Like they can't fight a breeze.
Right. Their top speed is maybe 1 or 2 miles per hour. By installing an outdoor ceiling fan or just setting up a box fan on your patio, you are doing 2 things.
Yeah.
First, you are blowing away that invisible plume of CO2, making it harder for them to track you.
Nice.
Second, you are creating a literal wind tunnel that they simply aren't strong enough to navigate physically. It keeps you cool, and it literally blows them away.
I love a low-tech, physics-based solution. But as I'm thinking about all of this, I mean, you could do everything right. You could dump your bottle caps, deploy the mosquito fish, treat your drains with Brady, trim your bushes, and sit under a fan. But if your neighbor 2 houses down has a clogged gutter and a neglected green pool, you are still going to get bitten.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is exactly why mosquito control is a community issue, not just an individual one. Mosquitoes do not respect property lines. An Aedes mosquito might only fly a few blocks in its lifetime, but your yard is absolutely in range of your neighbor's neglected bird bath.
So you really have to act as the neighborhood watch.
You do. You need to talk to your neighbors. And if you see an abandoned property with a stagnant pool, you shouldn't just shrug and hope for the best. You need to contact your local vector control district.
Like call the county.
Yeah. In places like Placer, Sacramento, and San Diego, these agencies have the legal authority and the resources to step in, treat those massive breeding sites, and constantly monitor for viruses. They exist to protect public health, but they desperately need the community's eyes to tell them where the hidden problems are.
So what does this all mean? We've covered the tracking biology, the diseases, and the neighborhood defense strategies. But honestly, as I was reading through this incredibly thorough, highly scientific manual from Simple Pest Management, I got to the very end and stumbled upon the greatest plot twist of the entire deep dive.
Oh, the author bio.
The author bio. I'm reading all these heavy facts about encephalitis, blood-brain barriers, and biological protein crystals, and I looked to see who wrote it. The author is listed as Theodore Augustus Paul Chi.
A very distinguished academic-sounding name.
Highly distinguished.
Okay.
So I read his bio. Teddy is the chief bedbug officer at Simple Pest Management. He's currently in training for bedbug scent detection. And Teddy is a mini Bernadiddle.
Aha! It is a fantastic detail.
A dog. A dog is the face of this intense public health manual. Well, okay, they clarify that he's currently developing his scent detection skills, and he doesn't make independent treatment determinations. All of his findings are rigorously verified by human professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love the visual of this little curly-haired dog walking the perimeter of a house, looking for standing water and sniffing for pests.
It's hilarious, but it actually serves a really smart psychological purpose.
Yeah.
Pest control, especially when dealing with public health threats like West Nile or the sheer anxiety of bedbugs, is a highly stressful industry for the customer. People are anxious, they feel invaded.
Oh, absolutely.
Having Teddy as the chief bedbug officer who keeps morale high and maintains a calm office environment perfectly reflects the company's approach. It's proactive, it's highly scientific, but it's also deeply human, or, well, canine. It shows they take the work incredibly seriously without taking themselves too seriously.
It's a brilliant move to lower the blood pressure of the customer. Teddy, I salute you. Keep up the good work.
As we wrap up this analysis, there was one final, somewhat provocative thought that builds on everything we've discussed today. Something for you to mull over next time you're out in your yard looking at the ecosystem.
Let's hear it.
We talked about how mosquitoes are adapting to the artificial containers we build, but scientists are now looking at taking biological warfare to the next evolutionary level. Instead of just poisoning the water or mimicking hormones, the next frontier in this fight, which is actively being tested in parts of California, is the sterile insect technique.
Okay, what is that?
They are rearing millions of male mosquitoes who don't bite, genetically modifying or radiating them so they are sterile, and releasing them into our neighborhood.
Wait, so releasing more mosquitoes to fight mosquitoes?
Exactly. These sterile males meet with the wild, biting females. But because the males are sterile, the eggs never hatch. It's biological sabotage.
That is insane.
We are moving past just playing defense in our yards. We're actively trying to hijack their reproductive cycle on a genetic level to crash the population entirely. It really makes you wonder, in the ongoing evolutionary arms race between humans and our oldest, deadliest predator, who is ultimately going to win?
Wow. Hijacking their DNA to crash the population. That is straight out of science fiction, but it's happening right now. That is definitely going to stick with me next time I'm looking at my gutters. Well, that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. Thank you for joining us as we unpack the hidden biology and the tactical warfare of mosquito prevention.
Hopefully you feel a little more equipped to take back your outdoor spaces and interrupt that life cycle.
Absolutely. To learn more and get some expert help, maybe even from Teddy himself, make sure you follow Simple Pest Management on social media and visit www.simplepest.com to keep your home buzz-free. Because the next time you're sitting on your patio watching that gorgeous California sunset, the only thing you should be hearing is the clinking of ice in your glass, not the whine of a microscopic predator zeroing in on your ankle. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you on the next one.